We're recording. Okay, so I do want to mention that this lecture is going to be recorded. We're going to have it posted on our website for future reference for other patients to benefit from today's lecture. So just want to give you the heads up. My name is Aurelis. I work for Turning Point, and we're so glad that you guys are here today. We're going to be discussing about, well, Lisa, our dietitian, will be talking about the basics of anti-inflammatory eating. Like I said, I did mute everyone, but please feel free to ask questions on the chat. And then we're going to have a Q&A at the end where your questions will be answered. So go ahead and take it away, Lisa.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. This is a first, so this is a great new experience. I'm used to having people right here in front of me, but this is the next best thing. So I chose the topic anti-inflammatory eating, because it is important for the whole entire population, and especially for our breast cancer and breast cancer survivors. So before I get to that, I guess I will introduce myself. I jumped right in. My name is Lisa Isley. I'm a registered dietitian. I have been a registered dietitian for a long time, and I do have a special passion for cancer survivorship, all aspects of cancer treatment, chemo, radiation. I have my heart goes out to everybody at Turning Point and all my patients. I love them and miss being there live. But as I said, this is the next best thing. So with that being said, I'm going to pull up, I have a PowerPoint presentation we're going to pull up. Please feel free to ask questions, type those in. I will go through. If I'm going too fast, because I have a tendency to do that if nobody's in front of me, but just slow me down, just tell Aurelis to slow me down, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I just need a refresher on how to pull up my PowerPoint and we'll get started.
So go to the share screen.
Where's that?
It's typically on the bottom. And participants can unmute. You can unmute yourself if you need to say something.
Oh yeah, they can.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
I think yours last time when we did the practice. I think it was on the top. If you swivel anywhere around your...
Oh my goodness. And we're going to...
We're ready.
All right. I'm almost there.
We can see your screen. We see your...
Can you see my screen? All right.
Yep.
Okay. So as I said, the basics of anti-inflammatory eating, and hold on, it's not going to advance. Aurelis?
Yes.
Let me advance my slides. Here we go. Okay. So first of all, we need to understand what inflammation is. Inflammation refers to what our body goes through to protect itself, basically. So when we have a process such as injury or infections or toxins or even surgery, our body produces chemicals and hormones in order to protect itself. So inflammation is there for a reason. It is there to protect us, but chronic inflammation over years and years of chronic inflammation, that is the thing that could cause damage to our cells and our tissues. So if we think about it, and we think about breast cancer, we know that both males and females can have breast cancer, but females tend to have more incidence of breast cancer. And the reason for this, if we think about what us females do every single month of our life, starting at the age of maybe 9, 10, 11, is that every month we have a cycle, we have a period, we go through our menses, and our breast tissues get inflamed and gorged, and then they calm down, and every month we do that. And so that is one thing that can contribute to breast cancer. But chronic inflammation as a whole is not good for our whole entire body. So what we need to talk about is why is it important for breast cancer survivorship? So chronic inflammation plays a key role in developing cancers. For one, you can develop certain types of heart disease, and the more inflammation and the more hits our arteries take, we have more likelihood of heart disease. And then diabetes is another thing that can come from chronic inflammation. And studies have shown that if we eat a more pro-inflammatory, meaning a diet that has more foods that cause inflammation, we are more apt to having a premature death, just from any of the causes that we discussed, I just said earlier. So the interesting thing is that breast cancer survivorship, we talk about that, and I know our fear of with breast cancer is as having a diagnosis of breast cancer, having a recurrent diagnosis of breast cancer. And sometimes we are so focused on that C word that we forget about all our whole entire health. And so if we eat an anti-inflammatory diet, we have a 56% lower risk of dying from heart disease, and that is our breast cancer survivorship. So our heart is really important, not to put that aside as from our breast cancer. So what we need to do is we need to start thinking about that. Cardiovascular disease is a leading cause of death among breast cancer survivors. It's not a reoccurrence rate. It's more likely that we will have our demise would be from heart disease. Studies show that the quality of your diet does show and does improve overall survivorship. That's what we want to get into. We want to look at what can we do. Sometimes people think that they have to do this enormous, huge change and eat nothing but grass and dirt and live that way the rest of their life. And we don't. We need to make smart choices, and we need to become mindful. And this is just the first part of what we can start doing on a daily basis to make us feel better and to have greater survivorship. So, what foods are anti-inflammatory? I think that we think about this, and I don't know what people think. Usually I ask the question, I'm like, what do we think that anti-inflammatory foods are? And a lot of people will raise their hand, and they'll answer, fruits and vegetables, plant-based. And anti-inflammatory foods are foods that are higher in omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids are a fatty acid it's an essential fatty acid. Our body doesn't produce them. Our bodies need them, so we need to take those in the course of our diet. Monounsaturated fats, those are also anti-inflammatory, and we need our phytochemicals and our phytonutrients. So if we can incorporate more of these into our daily eating, we'll have better health. So what are excellent sources of our omega-3s? I think we all look at this screen here, I'm hoping, and I think we all know what's up here. A lot of the times, I get the question, and a lot of the times the answer is salmon. Salmon is the highest in omega-3s, and salmon is a great source of omega-3 fatty acids. We would encourage I encourage my clients is that, we try to get these foods every single day. I don't expect you to eat salmon every single day. We really don't want you to eat salmon every single day. So there's other things that we can have, and we can rotate these foods out. Walnuts, I don't know if most of you know, but walnuts are a tremendous source of omega-3 fatty acids, and walnuts are something that we can munch on every single day. We have in the middle, we have chia seeds, and I don't know if a lot of you have played with chia seeds or eaten chia seeds in the past, but chia seeds are something that are I feel they don't have a taste at all, but chia seeds are one that they are great on anything. If you like a crunch, they look like, if you see them, they look like poppy seeds, and they have a crunch, a texture like poppy seeds. A lot of people complain that they get stuck in their teeth, which that does. But they're well worth the effort. So chia seeds can be eaten raw like that, or toasted as we see them. They can be eaten just like that. Chia seeds are unique because they will absorb liquid. So you can actually take your chia seeds, you can put them in your favorite, there's salad dressing recipes that I tell people to put them in, like if it's an Italian, we can put that in our salad dressing recipes. I generally will sprinkle chia seeds on, I usually have a fruit and yogurt parfait in the morning, and I make those all on Sunday night. I prep those. So I put that chia seeds, about 2 teaspoons of chia seeds on top of that yogurt mixture every day. And so those, once they're in that yogurt, they will absorb liquid, and then they have no texture, they have no taste, and they just provide an enormous amount of the omega-3s. Then we have flax seeds are on the screen. They're there on the corner to the left. Now, flax seeds are unique as well, and they provide a great amount of omega-3s. Flax seeds are best, in all reality, they're best if they are milled or ground. So they're very hard to break down, and they're very hard for our body to process or get all the nutrients out of them if they're in the whole form. Not to say not to eat them in the whole form, but it's preferred if we have them ground. So you can either grind them yourself at home, and simply, you know, I have a simple coffee grinder to the side. I have that one set up for just my flax seeds. If you purchase them ground, pre-ground, what I generally recommend is that you look for a cold mill, that they're cold processed instead of heat processed, because with a heat processing, that will actually destroy some of those omega-3s. So you can buy, if we're out at Costco has ginormous bags of already milled flaxseed, and they're fantastic. You can actually, generally with flaxseed, what my favorite thing to do with those is oatmeal. I make oatmeal in the morning, and at the very end, the last minute or so, I will take about 3 tablespoons of flaxseed, throw it in there, and just let that simmer for a little bit, and then that adds all those nutrients to my oatmeal in the morning. But the seeds itself, those are good. They're a texture, but again, if we could have those milled, to be even better. And then we have, go ahead.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Somebody mentioned about chia and flax seeds.
Yes.
If they contain estrogen and
Very good question. Very good question. Okay, so yes, they do. Flaxseed contains more of that phytonutrient, but what is recommended now from the American Institute for Cancer Research, actually across the board, is that all of the research as far as with estrogen and phytonutrients is that it's recommended that we are allowed to have them in our diets. We used to talk about soy at the bottom of the screen. Tofu is another good source of omega-3s. And I know everybody was saying that we need to avoid those phytoestrogens, especially like in soy. But what the final determination is that it's safe to consume in our diet. If we look at our Chinese population, and in China, they have less incidence of breast cancer and less incidence of reoccurrence. And so we did more studying, and we have said here in the United States is that it's safe if we have up to 3 servings of whole soy or those phytoestrogens a day. And a serving would be like, a serving is an ounce of tofu, if we're talking about the soy, 1/4 of a cup edamame, that type of thing. It's not processed soy like tofurkey or soy hot dogs. It's basically the whole soy. So to answer the question about flax, it's safe to have the flax. If you're worried more about that, then you can get yours from the other sources, but it is completely safe to have a little bit of the flax and or chia seed daily. You will not exceed the limit. Did that answer the question, I'm hoping? Okay.
I think so. And then what about hemp seeds? Are they omega healthy?
Okay, hemp seeds do have some omega, but hemp seeds are they're more of on the protein end, and they do provide other different types of vitamins and nutrients. They just have a little bit of magnesium in them. But hemp seeds are another excellent way to add some extra protein, a non-meat protein, because that's something that we always watch out. Red meat, we need to monitor that. So that is another good one. It's not as high. The 3 on here are most the highest of that are out there of the omega-3s. I picked the chia and the hemp is because those are so very easy to get those serving sizes in. Chia, I like chia. I sprinkle that, on my eggs in the morning. If I have that, I put in my scrambled eggs, and basically I like to sprinkle it on top of my eggs sunny side down. So other sources, since we're talking about meat, I just mentioned that, all the information that my go-to source is generally the American Institute for Cancer Research. And a guideline for them as far as meat and meat consumption and proteins is that for red meat, we don't really want consumers or anybody to consume more than 18 ounces of red meat in a day. And red meat encompasses anything that doesn't cluck or swim, basically. So So beef and pork and lamb and venison and veal, those are all red meat, okay? Yes, pork, though it's advertised as the other white meat, it is a red meat. And so we want no more than 18 ounces of that in our diet in a day, in a whole week's time, which for most females is not a hard thing to do. Most of my male clientele don't like when I say that, but it's not a hard thing to do. So to backtrack on that, if we're going to choose our 18 ounces of meat, and we say you want a steak and you're craving a steak, any kind of grass-fed beef, any cut, basically, the grass-fed beef has a higher amount of omega-3 fatty acids. So if you're going to have your 18 ounces, why don't we make that little bitty bit count and add to our omega-3s? That's something that I generally will tell everybody that is craving a steak or wanting some of the meat. Okay, so the next thing are our monounsaturated fats, and these are things that we can consume on a daily basis as well. Again, here are our nuts. Our nuts, walnuts are one that it covers all bases. So the only downfall with the walnut or all the nuts is if we are monitoring and trying to watch our weight, they are very calorically dense. So we have to monitor how many we take in. You know, a fourth of a cup can be 200 plus calories. So if we're really wanting to watch the calories that we take in, the nuts should not be limitless. We should have them daily, but we should count those into our calorie budget. All the oil, well, olive oil in particular is pretty much one of the highest. Safflower oil is another one. Sunflower oil is a good one. Those are all excellent sources of those monounsaturated fats. Like all the nut butter. So we have peanut butter, we have almond butter, we have cashew butter. All those are a good source just the same. And there's our favorite avocado. You know, years ago, I used to have all my patients would run from avocado just because of the fat content, because years ago we thought all fat was evil, I guess, for lack of better terms, and people would try to have the lowest amount of fat in their diet as possible. And you know, with doing that, you know, our body requires to have fat, and our body requires fat to help circulate our fat soluble vitamins, which are their vitamin A, D, E, and K, and we need those on a daily basis just to be for our overall health. And in order for those to be absorbed appropriately, we do need fat in our diet. So a side note with that, if we take vitamin D supplementation, we should have fat with that supplement. So if we take it at breakfast, we should have our vitamin D. If we're taking that for taking a vitamin D supplement, we should have fat in that diet. So we can have it with our peanut butter on toast, or we can have it with our almonds in our oatmeal, but fat should be present to help absorb the fat. I mean the vitamin D. Okay, so phytochemicals. Phytochemicals are things that in our fruits and vegetables, are found in fruits and vegetables, and they are what give your fruit and your vegetable its color. So we have phytochemicals that give us purple color, and some that give us red, some give us green. So phytochemicals are important out there, because what we've discovered over the years is that they actually help protect us from certain things like heart disease and certain types of cancer. So phytochemicals are what we call them phytonutrients. We need to get those on a daily basis in order to stay healthy. So phytochemicals actually, they help. What we discovered is that they help stop the formation of these potential cancer-causing substances like the carcinogens that we always talk about. They help stop the carcinogens from attacking cells, and they help stop, and they can wipe out some cancer-like changes that are going on. So they're important. And you know, I get a lot of some patients that are clients that are like, you know, Lisa, I just don't like vegetables, or I just don't eat fruit, you know. With that, I say, it's okay. We can get a lot of phytonutrients in only vegetables. We can get only in fruit. I prefer variety, but I'm not that one that's gonna slam you down. But I get nervous when people say, I don't like either. I don't like either fruits or vegetables. So I always encourage trying different things, and just trying them once, and you don't know, maybe you might like them, but we need to try to pull those in on a daily basis. So phytonutrients, Where are they found? They're found in all of your fruits and all of your vegetables, okay? Phytonutrients are different than vitamins and minerals, okay? Those are totally different because if we think about foods, you know, we think about, say, if I ask you, like, what is an orange known for? Like, why do we eat oranges? You know, people are like, well, we eat oranges because of vitamin C. Why do we eat bananas? Potassium, you know, that of such. And then I always ask, like, why do you eat an apple? And people think about it, you know, they're like, well, or an apple or watermelon. Think watermelon is a lot of people say watermelon is just sugar or watermelon is just water and it's useless. But if we think about them, apples are the highest in quercetin, and quercetin is a phytonutrient, and that one, it protects us greatly against heart disease and types of and cancer. So that old saying, you know, an apple a day helps keep the doctor away is a true statement. I mean, if we have an apple a day, we have a higher intake of quercetin, and that helps. So if we look at everything that's on the screen, I encourage most days, if we can get the variety of color, you know, you've heard it in the past, I've said it 1,000 times, is we need to eat the rainbow, we need to eat the rainbow. And this is why, we need to eat the rainbow, is because there's different, each color has a different phytonutrient, and that serves a different purpose. So eating more fruits and vegetables, and have a plant-based diet such as your legumes, quinoa, that can reduce the risk of any type of cancer by 40%. Okay, I know that we're focusing on breast cancer, but we have loved ones, we have family that we need to decrease our risk of all types of cancer. So eating, just as simple as eating fruits and vegetables, can decrease our chance by 40%. And I think that's pretty huge, and that's pretty epic to say about those fruits and vegetables. So the beneficial phytochemicals here are beta carotene. These are the top ones, and those are found in all the carotenoids in fruits and your vegetables, like we had just mentioned. I always have a hard time saying this. Resveratrol is in your red wines. All right, a note on wine. I always recommend my breast cancer, you need to talk to your doctor about what they recommend as far as with alcohol consumption. If we're talking about just general guidelines from the American Institute for Cancer Research, their guidelines are for females, they're allowed to have 1 alcoholic beverage a day. And that consists of, you know, 4 to 5 ounces of wine, a beer, or 1 ounce of spirits. But to backtrack, I want you to talk to your physician about that before we just jump on the bandwagon. The polyphenols, those are in tea. And now we always think like we need to just drink green tea, but it's in all types of tea, black tea, green tea. So those are, you know, if we like the tea, that's awesome. But we just want to remember that it's not sweet tea, it's just plain straight up tea. That would make me happy. And then our last one comes in our cruciferous vegetables, the isothioneates, okay, again, a tongue twister. But those are all, like, we know what those are. Those are your cabbage, and those are your Brussels sprouts. Those are the things that sometimes people turn their nose up. But the green things like that, mustard greens, turnip greens, cauliflower, those are the things that are really high in those phytonutrients. So we need to branch out. We need to try different things if those aren't on our radar of having them daily. Okay. So I'm going to hopefully, and I hope I can do this, and I'm going to say this, and I hope we can do this, that I have an anti-inflammatory shopping list. And I generally, when I meet with people, anybody, like whether it's be cancer or non-cancer, I always give them the anti-inflammatory shopping list. And I'm hoping maybe we can email that out to you guys, or can we do that, Aurelis? Can we email that out?
We can email it to people that have registered.
Yes.
Is it just one screen? People can screenshot it too.
Okay, no, I split up my handout on here. Okay, so yeah, all right, perfect, and that would be great. Or okay, awesome. So we'll get you a copy of this. But this is basically, and with what I have just said, you're gonna you'll see they're all on there. So we have our fruits. Now I want to say something about this list. Not, you know, somebody will come to me and like, oh, I eat, and it's not on the list. It's not, but does it make it bad? And the answer is no. Every fruit and vegetable is anti-inflammatory, every one. These are the heaviest of hitters, okay? So if we like these, that's awesome. If you like a fruit or that's not on this list, You know, say, I'm trying to think of a fruit that's not on this list. I can't, but say you like one, it doesn't mean it's bad, okay? And one other thing, and on the list, you will see the things that are more, they're bold, they're in bold print. Those have been actually proven to be cancer fighters from the American Institute for Cancer Research. And they're doing research all the time on different fruits and vegetables. So I'm not going to read everything on this list, but again, these are things that are manageable every day. During the winter months, I know we're coming into, you know, different seasons here, but during the winter months, generally, I am okay and I'm great with people doing frozen fruits or vegetables. That's perfect and fine. If we don't like them that way, on the fruit end of everything, and this is where people sort of gasp when I say this, I don't mind if people have fruit cups in their cabinet, in their cupboard, kept in there just in case we can't get anything fresh. I'd rather you have that in its own juice or water than have nothing at all. So it's not a bad thing to have those in the cabinet. Vegetables are a different case scenario, but the fruits are that's what we have. But basically with fruits are seasonal. So, you know, apples, we have those in October, but we can get those all year round. Same with, you know, bananas, we can do those all year round. Grapes, pretty much all year round. Sometimes they're just they taste a little bit better than, you know, during their season. Watermelon, I could eat watermelon every single day of my life. I love it. And of course it is better in the summer, but I do get it in the wintertime as well. All right, so your vegetables, same thing. Pretty much everything you see on this list, you know, you can make a great stir fry. You can do anything. We can do these at lunch. You know, at lunch is a good thing, especially if we are eating away from the house. If we take our lunch, or even if we don't take our lunch, we can always supplement our lunch at work with fruits and vegetables. That's something that can be taken, easily packed, put in a paper bag, not a lot of prep, and taken with us. A lot of the times too, what I recommend is that when we go grocery shopping and you bring home all these things, so you bring home bags of carrots and bell peppers and radishes. I recommend at that point, when you get home, you take them, you wash them, you prep them, and you put them in the refrigerator ready to go, because you will be more likely to go open that refrigerator and grab something that's already ready to go, rather than having to say, oh, I don't want to bother peeling that carrot or washing the carrot for that, because you really don't need to peel your carrot if it's washed well. So that's one little side note. I'd recommend you just prepping it right when you get in, because then it will be already ready and done and waiting for you.
Question.
Okay. Yes.
I'm not sure what TNBC stands for. TNBC? Somebody said they've read that if you have TNBC, you should not eat asparagus. Is that true? Raquel or Rachel, what is TNBC?
Triple negative breast cancer.
Oh, triple negative. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes, that's what. No, I can research that further, but I've never told my triple negatives not to have asparagus or broccoli. I mean, sometimes they come up, so no. I can look further into that, but
okay.
No. Okay. Does that have that answer?
Purple cabbage?
No.
Is purple cabbage good?
Purple cabbage is perfect. Purple, you mean as far as with the triple negatives?
No. This is, I'm sorry, a separate question. Is purple cabbage?
Oh gosh, yes, purple. All right, so if it's not on the list, if it wasn't on the list, but it is another one of those cruciferous vegetables. So it is a good one. Like I said, if it's not on the list, it doesn't mean it didn't. These are just the heaviest of the container. And if we actually look on there, oh, it's red and green. So yes, purple falls under there as well. It's still good for you. Okay. All right, so our legumes, our nuts, and our seeds. I think a take-home message with all this is that we realize that our nut population gives us a lot more than what we really thought it did in the past, I think. So our almonds, all our legumes, like our black eyed peas, our chickpeas, lima beans, every one of them are great. If we look on here, a lot of these things are cancer fighters, okay? And we can incorporate these things daily. We already talked about the ways to do our flaxseed and our chia seed. You know, we can do peanut butter, pistachios. Pumpkin seeds are another great thing. You know, making a salad and we throw pumpkin seeds on them. Having a big bowl of tomato soup. I like to put pumpkin seeds on tomato soup, and I actually like to sprinkle sesame seeds on it as well, just to give it something different, a little bit more depth and texture. So all those are perfect and fine. Oils, and I had mentioned those earlier as far as with our monounsaturated, as far as our anti-inflammatories, the extra virgin olive oil, we have that. We have our safflower oil. I'm sorry I didn't put commas in there, but those are all perfect. So extra virgin, the safflower, and the sunflower oil are on the heaviest of the hitters. The things also, peanut oil, that's another good one. That's just didn't make the list. It didn't make the top 3. And as far as our proteins go, the highest is in the anti-inflammatories. All of these on the list, people always ask me, like, where's the chicken, or why isn't chicken on here, or why isn't you know, pork? But we've already talked about why pork isn't on here. Chicken is somewhat of a neutral ground. You know, chicken is good, but if we eat chicken with the skin, it's not. That's where all the saturated fat is. So the proteins on here, the fish and the shellfish, are the ones that are the highest providing in our omega-3s. And that's what we need. Remember, I said those are essential. So we need to try to pull these in as frequently as we can. So it's the fattier fish out there. So your salmon, your halibut, your tuna, your cod, those types of things are the fattier fish, and they're higher in your omega-3s.
We have some
All right.
questions.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I figured it's probably easier just to ask while you're talking
Absolutely.
about it.
It is better. It is better.
Grapefruit. Can you eat grapefruit while taking tamoxifen?
Yes. You
You're
can't.
not
Yes.
supposed to.
Who said? No, you can't eat grapefruit if you're taking any type of Lipitor, anything like that, a statin.
Okay.
So if you take, so no, there's never been any negative, unless that's new research, that you can't eat grapefruit with tamoxifen.
Okay. Thank you. Another question, is canola oil good for you? Flaxseed oil?
Very good question. Excellent question. Canola oil is high in monounsaturated fats, so yes. Flaxseed oil is good. Flaxseed oil is another higher one in omega-3s, and that is fine. Those are things that we can, like flaxseed oil. Those are things that we can like use as with salad dressings. We could drizzle that on a salad. You can lightly saute with some of these. Some of them, like extra virgin olive oil, it's not recommended to, like, if you wanted, like, I want fried chicken and I'm going to fry it in extra virgin olive oil, it's not going to work. It's because their flash point or their boiling point isn't as high. So your end product is going to be a little bit soggy and a little bit oily. But some of these are more of like a sauteing, like your extra virgin olive oil, your flaxseed, and then the safflower oil and sunflower oil. And then, like, if we needed to, seriously, if we're going to splurge and fry something, it's peanut oil would be the one. But those are, so canola oil is safe as well. If I had to choose over peanut oil or canola oil, I would pick peanut oil to fry in if I had to fry anything, if you want to fry. If you want to treat yourself, that's what I would say. And we can. Okay. We don't have to be 100% of the time. I'm not, and I don't expect anybody else to be. So
flaxseed oil is good?
Yes, flaxseed oil is good.
And then go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, somebody just asked if you can repeat what you said about pork. They missed it.
Oh, pork being the other white meat. I'm thinking maybe that's where everybody gets thrown off. See, it's a lot. Okay, so pork, great marketing in the pork, and if I have anybody that's in the pork industry, you're great at marketing. So they market pork as the other white meat, meaning that it's only white in color. Basically, it's pork. It's still a red meat, and so that falls under our 18-ounce limitation for a week. So pork is that.
Okay, we have more questions. Do you want me to keep
Keep
asking?
going. All right, yeah, that's fine. That's good. I
Okay,
like it.
is avocado oil good for frying? Do you know?
Sauteing. I mean, when I think of frying, let's clarify what I think of frying. I think fried green tomato. I think frying in oil for chicken. All right, let's do chicken because we deep fry that. Or if you want to fry jalapeno poppers. I don't know where this is coming from, but yeah. So if we deep fry anything, peanut oil is really ideal because it has the highest flash point or highest boiling point. So that means that oil can get super hot, and then your cook time is less, and that's what we want when we want oils. So the less time that it spends in there, the less oil it's going to absorb, meaning the less oil and less calories that your end product is going to have. So peanut oil is a good oil. It's better for you than most, but we still don't want to have a lot of peanut oil because it's still really high in calories. So if we're going to fry anything, you're going to treat yourself to something fried, I would fry in peanut oil. Canola oil would be the second choice because that flash point is high as well. If we're going to saute things, all the other oils are great. We have that extra virgin olive oil you can saute in, the safflower, the sunflower, and then you can do, what was the question? The flaxseed oil
Avocado oil.
Avocado oil, all those. Avocado oil is actually a really good one to drizzle and to finish things with. So you can make something and then you can finish it. Like if you had, sometimes people will finish, they'll steam a vegetable and I steam it with nothing, and they need a little bit of fat to that. They want a little bit, and so instead of putting butter or margarine, they'll put a little bit of avocado oil, which is fine. It gives it a little bit of a flavor, not too much.
Okay. One more question, and then some of these we'll just answer at the end. But somebody's asking about vegetable juicing for breast cancer, especially because of the sugar content. She has concerns due to dental issues after chemo and wonder if all the juicing has contributed.
Oh, can we come back to that? Because I'm going to address sugar here shortly.
Sure. Okay.
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like address that. That's a fantastic question. Okay. Well, you know what? We can I can hit it now.
We can.
All right. Okay. So I'm gonna. As far as juicing, I think that was the question, and the sugar content. So in my practice and when I talk to my patients, juicing, I'm not a big fan of juicing at all. I'm a fan of juicing when it comes to my patients or my clientele that cannot eat the whole vegetable or whole fruit. So if I have somebody with head and neck cancer that can't swallow, juicing is great. If I have somebody that has gastroparesis, not cancer related, juicing is great. But if we think about it, juicing, I always tell people, like, I ask them, what do you juice? And so they're like, well, I do 3 apples, and I do a carrot, and I do celery, and I do a handful of spinach, and it's like this plethora, and which is all awesome things, don't get me wrong. But then what you're doing is you're taking out all the fiber. So we are taking all these great, beautiful things, and we're pulverizing it, and we're just drinking the beverage. And so it's a concentrated form of calorie for one, and you're taking away all those other things that we need, meaning the fiber. Fiber is important. We're talking about breast cancer, but fiber is important for colon health. And so if we eliminate that, you're missing a lot. You're missing out on a lot. So you can have as many fruits and vegetables a day, but if you're not getting the fiber content, that your colon isn't going to be happy. It won't be happy with that. So usually I'll say, if you take what you're juicing and you put it out in front of you, can you eat all of that at one meal? And if at one sitting, and if the answer is yes, then you need to eat it, okay? But most of the time, people say, there's no way I could eat all that at one time. I mean, I love apple. I can't eat 3 apples at a time. I love watermelon, though I joke around and say I could eat a whole watermelon at a time. I know I can't do that. So it's spacing that out. So have your 3 apples, not in juice, but have it like over the course of a day to get the benefit of the whole entire apple. And that is a concentrated form of sugar. It's fructose. And that can cause, especially with the dental, that can be a big issue, especially post-treatment. I hope that answered. Okay. All right, good. All right, I'm going to go on. Did we cover this one or not? I don't think we covered our grains yet. But we have grains. I know a lot of people fear grains. I guess they say carbohydrates are bad, but carbohydrates are amazing and they're good for us. Our body requires carbohydrates. That is our fuel. It requires that to function. You know, our car wouldn't go anywhere without gasoline, and our body is not going to go far without carbohydrates. So these are the carbohydrates I tell people to hone in on for our anti-inflammatories. Some of them you might have tried, and some of them might sound a little bit weird or a little bit odd, but they're all very good. And so just pull them in. The quinoa is the newest, greatest grain. They call them the great grains, and it's actually not even a grain, it's a little seed. But quinoa is an excellent source of protein. It's a complete protein. And then you can try farro, you can try kamut. Those are just different things. You can Google a million recipes on those because, again, they are coming back into play. Whole grains, stone ground bread, those types of things are perfect and good. So let's pull some more of that back into our diets of eating instead of our refined carbs. Okay, and then our herbs and spices. This a lot of times spikes a lot of questions. I actually prefer people to eat rather than supplement with a lot of this stuff, because I get a question of like, can I, the biggest thing is turmeric now and anti-inflammatory properties of turmeric. And all the studies are not on the supplementation of turmeric itself. It's the study of turmeric and the benefit in our diet. So, and we would have to consume, I think it's about a quarter to a half a teaspoon of turmeric a day to show benefits. And we can do that. I mean, there's different recipes that you can put turmeric in, but I would prefer you to eat it. And just like garlic, I mean, garlic is the same thing. If we eat a lot of garlic, that would be perfect and fantastic to get that in, okay? A different way to get that in. But there's a whole plethora, and try all the different things. Cilantro was just Cinco de Mayo. We could have loaded up on our cilantro. And, the rosemary, adds a whole bunch of flavor to everything. So just be creative when in the kitchen when it comes to those. Okay? So any questions now, because we're going to move into our foods that cause inflammation. Okay? So there's a lot of things that can cause inflammation, but the two that I'm going to pick on, the most offensive, I believe, in our diet, and the easiest to eliminate in our diet are the sugars and saturated fats. Okay, so saturated fat is a fat that is solid at room temperature. So we think about it. It's real easy. We always pick on butter, and everybody used to back in the day when we were watching all the cholesterol and everything, we created margarine, and that's fantastic. But if we look at margarine and we look at butter and we look at saturated fat, they both have saturated fat in them. So it's at this point, during my career, I would always say just watch what we do, whichever one that is better. And basically, they're neither of them is better at all. They're both fat. They both have saturated fat in them. So what you would do is preference. I mean, it's comparing a food label, and it's looking and being more mindful of that. I love the taste of real butter, and that's all that I have now. I used to have butter and more, all that, but I like the taste of real butter, and I keep whipped butter because I'm paying for 50% air, but that's 50% less saturated fat in it as well. So those are the things that we think of all the time, like butter is one, butter and margarine. People don't really, maybe not our dairy. So full fat dairy, even 2% milk is higher in saturated fats. I tell people, let's try to keep our saturated fat intake. Generally, I calculate based on your calories, but if somebody asks me, I'm like, shoot for under 18, shoot for under 15 grams of saturated fat a day. And that might sound like a lot, but you can pick up a glass of 2% milk or whole milk and get 5 grams of saturated fat. And I think that's a huge budget. A tablespoon of butter has 7. So we just have to, we budget ourselves out, then we know where to spend it, where we can spend it. Our full fat cheeses, cheese is one that provides us with great protein. If some people are lacking protein, that's a great way to go, as long as we are mindful of the saturated fats in it. Of course, bacon. And I'm going to say with bacon, not only just pork bacon, but turkey bacon should fit in, it fits in here as well. Turkey bacon, in my mind, is just basically, it's the same thing. It's equally as offensive. It's just made with turkey and not pork. So for those that don't eat pork, in the beginning, I'm not a big meat eater, but I'm like, oh, turkey bacon is such a cool thing, but not in reality, it's the same. It's the same. So if you're eating turkey bacon and you're gagging on it, but you're eating it because you think it's healthier, my recommendation is a little bit of the real stuff. Just keep it under your saturated fat budget, can go a long way. Other things on here, which coconut oil, and that I'm hoping that we're on the back end of everything with the coconut oil, just for the fact is a lot of misinformation about coconut oil, about a little bit of truth about coconut oil went a long way, and people were slapping coconut oil on their toast, putting in their coffee, slathering it all over their meals, and coconut oil is a saturated fat, all right, and we don't need saturated fat. Coconut oil is 43% saturated fat, and whereas like beef tallow or Crisco, when we talk about beef tallow or lard is 42% saturated fat. So people get really offended by Crisco or lard, but they'll throw coconut oil. They used to on everything. So the little bitty truth about coconut oil is that it does have a medium chain triglyceride in there, and they are studying that. But in my mind, it doesn't have enough medium chain triglyceride to prove any health benefit at all. So that is the only thing that I think coconut oil is good for, is for our skin, for our hair, topical. So we don't want to swallow it. And then chocolate. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, about the, somebody's asking, does our body require any amount of saturated fat, or is it okay to eliminate entirely?
Excellent question. Our body requires zero saturated fat. All the other fat in our diet should come from mostly our monounsaturated fats that I showed you, and a little bit of the poly. But we get enough poly usually in our diet, so those monounsaturated fats are where we should pull everything in. Excellent question. Yeah, that saturated fat does nothing except cause inflammation, can cause plaque buildup. So excellent question. The other thing, I hate to be the messenger, don't shoot the messenger, but we have chocolate. It has saturated fat in it, and I know dark chocolate does have some of those great phytochemicals in it, but we're going to monitor it. We're going to monitor how much we take in. It doesn't mean we can eat a whole flat of dark chocolate. So we're just going to have a little bit of that dark chocolate. We're going to count the grams of saturated fat in our dark chocolate as our budget. The other things, and I think we know all desserts, I love a good cupcake, just like the next girl, but we're going to watch, not only does that one have high saturated fat content, but it's the sugar as well. So those are the heavy hitters in the saturated fat world. There are some out there. I will say, that some of it will hide and will get you on the back end. So like ice cream is another one. It's not on, I didn't put that on there, but anytime you take chocolate and you put it over, so like say you have all these great protein bars that everybody thinks are, the bomb, but they're all dipped in chocolate. So they're getting all this subpar protein and they're slathering it in saturated fat. And that's what I want people to think of. I'm like, it's saturated fat, whether it's dark chocolate, whether it's yogurt that they're saying that's a healthier, that's all saturated fat, because that chocolate has to solidify on that product. So it's saturated. So we need to be mindful of those. All right. So then the other thing is sugar. Now I'm gonna throw this at you. Sugar does not cause, nor does sugar feed cancer. Okay, what sugar does, sugar feeds every cell in our body. All right, so cancer cells, I tell people, cancer cells are like the bullies in the chow line, and they get all what they want first, and they leave the scraps for everybody else. Okay, that doesn't mean that if you eat sugar, more sugar, you're going to develop cancer or anything But what it does mean, sugar is empty calories. Sugar is non-nutritive. Sugar provides you with nothing but calories. So what is one of the things that causes a higher incidence of breast cancer is obesity. So having more calories on the front side can lead to more weight on the back side. Not legitimately, but literally. But that's, I mean, so as far as with sugar, we need to keep a good mind on it and a good count on it. And the guideline, you know, we've gotten new food labels, and I'm going to touch on that in a minute. But so the guideline for the general population is a little bit different than what I usually recommend. And I recommend to everybody these guidelines from the American Institute for Cancer Research as far as added sugar. And when we're talking about added sugar, that is exactly what I'm talking about, is added sugar. I'm not talking about sugar in fruit like the fructose or any of that. I'm talking about adding sugar to a product. So the guideline is for a female that we are allowed to have no more than 6 teaspoons of added sugar a day. And for men, they are allowed to have 9 teaspoons per day. And that might seem like an astronomical amount, but I'm going to show you how quickly it adds up in our daily intake. Okay, so the new label. We have our original label here on our the left of the screen, and then on our right is our new one. And you'll notice, and since January of 2020, every food label is going to be the new one. They all need to be transitioning over to the brand new label. So you will see this, and when you pick up a food, how you know it's the new food label is the bold calories. That is the first thing. The bold calories, bold serving size. But I want you, if we go right under calories, you'll see the total fat, and right under total fat, you have your saturated fat. And that's the number you want to pay attention to, not total fat, it's the saturated fat. And that's the one I tell people, let's try to keep as low as it possibly can. If you have to, 15 to 18 is a fair number as far as calories for women. So that's fair. So what we're going to do with that, trans fat is thank goodness going on the waist side. The trans fat, nobody should have more than 2 grams of saturated fat a day. So we're going to go down the list, and you will see total carbohydrates, and then you're going to see dietary fiber, and then you're going to see total sugar, and then you're going to see included added sugar. And that's the number that I want you to pay attention to. Added sugar is anything that is added to a product to alter the sweetness or the flavor of it. It doesn't even necessarily need to alter sweetness. It just needs to alter the flavor. So that can be even concentrated fruit drinks can be added, or concentrated fruit can be added to something to increase the sweetness. And they get away. They used to say that wasn't added sugar, but that is added sugar. Honey is added sugar. Molasses is added sugar. Maple syrup is added sugar. So those are the types of things that you're going to look for. Now, on the label, it's listed in grams, and I told you teaspoons. So you're going to convert. What you're going to do, 1 teaspoon is equal to about 4.2 grams. So to make it really easy, instead of keep making the math really easy, you're going to convert those grams. You're going to divide it by 4. So on that the slide I just showed you, there's 10 grams of sugar, added sugar. So we take 10, you divide it by 4, and that means whatever that food product was, that has 2.5 teaspoons of added sugar. And just for reference, there's 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. So whatever this is, it has almost a tablespoon of added sugar. Okay? So I would recommend you going and grabbing, grabbing anything. I mean, you'll find added sugar in the craziest places. Tomato soup, go grab a can, sorry Wolfgang Puck, but his tomato soup, crazy amount of sugar in that one. Another one is, which I've never been a fan of, but baked Lay's. Baked Lay's, a serving of baked Lay's has a 0.5 gram of added sugar, which doesn't seem like 2 grams of added sugar, which equals a 0.5 teaspoon of added sugar in a potato chip that doesn't even do anything for me. So just you have to look on everything. Ketchup, barbecue sauce, salad dressings, of the such, all of that, all of the above. Okay? And I mean, that's basically has completed my topic I thank everybody. I know I'm going fast here at the end, and we'll answer the questions, but thanks to Turning Point, and I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Toys for Tots Golf and Echelon Golf Course. They have sponsored this program today, and I thank them so very much. So we're going to turn it over to questions now.
Yes. Just one question. Can you tell us your thought on eggs?
Eggs?
Yes.
Eggs? Okay. Eggs, all right, as far as heart disease, I mean, we're going to go a different route. So the American Heart Institute recommends we don't have more than 3 to 4 whole egg yolks. The yolk is where all the cholesterol is, and that causes the trouble with the heart. But eggs are an excellent source. They're a high biological value protein. They're an excellent source of protein. The majority of the protein is found in the white of that egg. So as long as we keep the yolks down to 4, especially if we have a family history of cardiovascular disease, or if we have higher cholesterol, we keep those yolks at bay. But the whites, you can have as many whites as you want to. And, if you want to buy it, like, what do they call egg substitutes and all that? You can. I just generally say buy eggs and just crack them and give the yolks to your pets, your animal. Your dogs love them. They don't have cholesterol issues. And it's a better way, because all egg substitutes are egg whites, yellow food coloring, added sodium, and we really don't need any of that as well. So, okay.
4, you said eggs, 4 per what?
Oh, 4 per week. 4 yolks, not whites. 4 egg yolks per week. The yellow part, just the yellow part we monitor.
Okay. Just let me make sure that. Okay. Pretty much everybody's saying thank you. Great presentation.
Oh, you're welcome.
There was
Thanks
some
so patient. The learning process. Yes.
And we'll make sure we get this sent out and also posted on our website, because we know we had some technical difficulties, and some people had trouble logging in. So we'll make sure that we get this posted. But everybody's saying thank you. Great information. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Everybody stay safe. Stay well. Best to everybody. If you have a question, just let me know.
Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. You're all muted, so you can say thank you or bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. That was a great presentation.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So much.
Bye,
Thank you.
Bye, Karen. Bye, Marilyn.
Thank you, Lisa.
Bye.
Great job.
You did it.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thanks so much.
Anna.
Yes. I got late, unfortunately. I had technical difficulties, but I did have a question. And maybe you addressed it earlier.
Okay.
Could I ask you quickly? Why is it, this is from a medical standpoint, why is it that in the cancer healthcare industry, are the doctors, never once did I have anyone say to me or reinforce what I was doing in terms of proper nutrition? I had to really search for it on my own, and that's why I was really interested in this topic. I once, and I love my surgeon, but I once said to her, she said, "You healed very well after your lumpectomy." And I said, "Well, I've been eating all those cruciferous vegetables and Brussels sprouts." And, she kind of, my husband was present for it. And she kind of not mocked me, but almost made a joke of it. And it really bothered me, because you need any snippet of hope that you're doing the right thing. And that was before I had my mastectomy, okay? And then I asked my primary physician, what single most thing do you think I should do to prepare for surgery? And he basically said exercise, which was something, but not specific things, but just exercise, which of course I followed. I stepped up my walking plan and all that. Why is it that they're not promoting something and it gives us a tool, something to go on when we're in the throes of this horrible diagnosis.
Right. I mean, they are treating, they are oncologists and they're surgeons, and that's their specialty. And I mean, like, I wouldn't know how to talk to you about surgery, any of that. And they're I don't know how to say, they treat the case at hand. Right. So a lot of them are supportive of nutrition, and a lot of them will say, I'm going to refer you to your dietitian, or go ask a dietitian. And that's really, I think in this culture, we're not all the way sold on it as of yet. Some of them completely are. I will say that a lot of them are. Know that the importance of nutrition, as far as with pre-surgery, during surgery, pre-chemo, during chemo. I mean, it all plays a role. And there are certain places that do have dietitians on staff that do have that.